Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
We are back with the man himself. It's Don Wittman here joining us live on the podcast and Zoomcast, of course. He's a consultant at Wittman Technology from Danbury, Connecticut. Welcome back to the show. WittmanTechnology.com's master. Don, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Now, it says you're a consultant. Isn't it your own company?
It's my own company.
Technically. Okay. I just was reading the notes and I'm like, yeah, he owns it, but you're also a consultant, clearly.
Well,
modest he is.
I actually consult to a lot of companies.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I spend a lot of time helping companies out and helping people out to find jobs, helping companies attract more better and talent that they can't find, and help them use what I call my pull strategy, which I use for, people looking for a job, companies looking to attract new talent, and consultants who are trying to attract new business.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really just reusing what I've been calling for years now, my pull methodology, which is pretty much the opposite of what everybody else teaches and talks about. It's how to get people to come to you. In today's world, the recruiters are so busy that a lot of times they don't get back to you unless they have a direct job for you. They really don't want to talk to you. So the pull methodology, which I've defined in my book, is basically setting up your LinkedIn profile so that people can find you. And, I should really introduce my book, which is Ignite Your LinkedIn Profile, which is basically a do-it-yourself guide for building a more attracting LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank you for being here, for joining us. As always, he's full of information, and he's, again, bringing you solutions that he says that really drive market advantage. So we're going to talk about the Great Reassessment today, right? Not the Great Resignation. I get confused.
Right.
But again, you do one-on-one LinkedIn profile consulting, coaching, advanced LinkedIn training for job seekers, advanced LinkedIn SEO consulting, as well as coach small business owners and also employees. And you also do training for corporations. So Don does a lot. Don't forget, WittmanTechnology.com, WITTMAN technology.com.
Yeah, so today wanted to start off doing is, the Great Resignation was really, I think, the Great Reassessment, because people left because they were assessing, do I really want to work this hard? Do I really want to work these hours? Do I really want to commute? I mean, we're both in the Northeast where commutes are horrendous.
Mm-hmm.
And now that the traffic is coming back, where, I think the average commuter in the United States is at 100 plus hours of congestion time per year.
Mm-hmm.
People are seeing that, I get going, oh my.
Yeah.
And also with, the issues with COVID, RSV, and the flu, which has been absolutely horrible this year.
Mm-hmm.
People are being more steadfast about, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to say I need to work from home, work in a better place, or change where I am? A lot of people have already, as part of the reassessment, gone out for higher work, higher pay for work and things like that. So a lot of that it's done a lot. So we don't really see the huge pay increases.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they don't happen. I mean, my son's boss just got a 200% raise.
Wow.
So, those things are still happening. Don't let anybody tell you it's not. It's just not happening as often as it was, 6 or 9 months ago. But yeah, so somebody found them and basically picked them away from the company that my son was working for, and boom, 200%.
Amazing.
Like, wow. No, that's an IT. I mean, IT is still absolutely crazy busy.
Mm-hmm.
It actually, if we talked about 2 weeks ago about the layoffs at Google and Meta and Amazon, and now at IBM and a few others. I don't count the Microsoft as a layoff because they're getting rid of a whole division. They're really getting rid of Nokia, which was their phone company that they bought that really didn't do any good for them. But a couple of professionals have come on various news programs and basically said yeah, the companies let leak that they were going to do a layoff, so everybody was already prepared. For the most part, they gave everybody a 90-day vacation.
Yeah.
Because they already had their feelers out, they already had their materials ready, and they just hopped off, and most of them made money on the deal. They actually started the job before their severance was over. But that also changes what people are looking for. People now, the thing that happened to a lot of people, like from Meta and some of the other companies, is that the stock was down when they did the layoff. So a lot of people lost that as income. So a lot of job seekers now are looking for more cash compensation rather than stock compensation, because it's times like this where all of a sudden all that stock is worthless or near worthless, not nearly what they expected it to be.
Yeah.
So now is I've talked to a couple of clients that I work for and said that hiring is much easier for them, and they're not getting they're not asking for all the outrageous stuff that they used to, but they can find candidates much more easily, and candidates now are trying to stay local because of the commutes, because of everything else. I mean, most of the area here still have is a daycare desert, so that's happening more and more where it's gotten very expensive or non-existent. The cost. Most daycare workers are minimum wage, and minimum wage in a lot of places over the last few years have basically doubled because the minimum wage is now $15 in a lot of places, or close to that, where previously it was around 7.5, 7.75. So all of a sudden the price of daycare has gone up, and people says, well, what do I want to do? Work, particularly, young working couples who have little kids and stuff. The new cost of daycare has gotten very expensive. And do you change it? Do you go to trying to find a nanny if you have like 2 kids, or what you want to do? Or do you want to stay home or find something to work from home where you have more time and things? So that is becoming more and more happening more and more from what I can see, because a lot of women, not necessarily women, but a partner in a marriage, whatever kind it is, a lot of times now one person's having to stay home. So that's fueling the lack of potential job candidates, right? And we still haven't gone back to the before the pandemic, the percentage of people workforce that is actually working. So we're still a few percentage points off from that, and that's a lot of that has to do with can't find daycare, or it's too expensive and things like that. So there's a lot of changes that's going on, but particularly what's happening now is I'm seeing turnover happening much more quickly because there's still a lot of jobs out there. I mean, I thought the JOLTS report, is how many job postings are out there. I thought it was going to go down because of all the layoffs and stuff. Well, it hasn't even budged. It's still 10.5 million job postings.
Yeah.
So people are reassessing to what we call phase 2 of most job hiring sprees that are out there. Is people are now looking again to be closer to home. If you have to commute, if you have to be in person in your job, or pushing harder and harder for work at home, or much better work-life balance, we're only going into work a few days a week. And that's really happening right now. People aren't really choosing money right now, they're choosing lifestyle.
Yeah.
So that's happening, and people are being pretty much adamant about it. They want their lives back. I mean, 20 years ago, company I used to work for was in the Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
And, they want to say, let's try to find an office that has better work-life balance. So they went out to Colorado Springs, which was great. Why did the people like it?
Yeah.
The people went from working a 55-hour week on salary, right, to working a 45-hour week,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the company went nuts about losing 10 hours a week of productivity.
Yeah.
And that's what's coming back. People don't want to spend all this time commuting and losing all this home time for a better work-life balance. So what those people did when they went to Colorado for better work-life balance and everything else was great, but the companies didn't like it so much.
Mm-hmm.
And that's now happening on the East Coast much more than it was happening before. So that's what I'm saying is, that's part of the reassessment is, I want to spend more time with my kids. I want to spend more time doing other things. I went to, when I changed jobs from MCI and stuff like that, I went to work for Priceline. You worked a lot of hours, but you also had a lot of free time. I mean, I had 5 weeks and 11 days, personal days. And, we went away a lot. And so you worked hard and you played hard. I think people are trying to find the balance of what can I do? So the end result of that is everybody now is going back and is, okay, let me go back, get my collateral ready for change again. How do I find a job that's closer to home? Stuff like that, which means you have to have an updated resume, you have to have other collateral, as well as a LinkedIn profile that is up to date and allows you to be found by recruiters, which is the pull method that I described earlier, which is what's in my book, the Ignite Your LinkedIn Profile. Mm-hmm. And that's happening much more. I mean, I'm getting calls now to do quite a number of webinars on, people want to change, and people are looking for, how do I get a better work-life balance? Because a lot of people around me, I mean, I'm in Danbury, and commuting into the city has gotten worse.
I don't miss those days. I'm on Long Island, and I spent so much of my life commuting, and the only benefit was during COVID, it was beautiful, right? Not much traffic, but now it's just, and now they want to impose all those tolls and stuff too, like congestion pricing. Are they kidding me? Sorry.
No, you're absolutely right. I
Ranting.
mean, now we have Easy Pass, right?
Yeah.
You're going to see every bridge, tunnel,
it's everywhere.
river crossing.
Yeah.
Be easy, because New York City needs money, right? Because people aren't going to the city. People aren't paying New York City taxes,
mm-hmm.
right? Massachusetts is complaining that they're not getting the taxes because the people from New Hampshire and Vermont are not coming into work in Massachusetts, so they don't have to pay Massachusetts state tax.
Oh.
And New Hampshire doesn't have an income tax.
Oh, I didn't know this.
Right, and it's the same thing as, well, if you were going into the city, right?
Yeah.
You paid a New York City tax.
Yeah.
On top of your New York State income tax, right? So now, if you don't have to go into the city, you're working from home, you don't have to pay that extra 3% tax.
Mm.
So people are looking at what's the benefits,
mm-hmm.
right? I mean, I have, give you an idea. My son can ride a bike to work, so he didn't have to buy a new car. Because if he stayed where he was and they still made him come into the office, he was going to have to get a new car. I mean, his car has 154,000 miles on it.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So saved him the cost of his car, his insurance is cheaper. So all in all, people are looking at, even though they may not be asking for more money, stuff like that, what is the savings of not commuting into the city? Mm-hmm. What are the savings of not having to commute an hour and a half on 95 or the Long Island Distressway? Those things are real things in people's life, and with all the traffic, it's just like I'm getting into work going so people are looking for, again, work-life balance closer to home, not necessarily for more money, but for a better work-life balance. And if you adjust the cost of getting rid of commuting, and we're going to have a better car, or paying for the Long Island Railroad, or paying for Metro North, which are not cheap anymore. And the same thing as every place else around, it means that you can actually get a raise by working local.
Yeah.
And having the same salary. And that's what a lot of people are looking for now, is the change. And that's what's driving quite a number of job search groups to be busy again, because I want to work closer to home.
Absolutely.
And I'm tired of commuting. People have gotten their money, right? They're into now, okay, how can I make my life easier? And now it's all about attracting recruiters, because recruiters, a lot of recruiters changed jobs over the previous few years, and now it's nuts. And so a lot of companies are finding their own doing LinkedIn searching by themselves. And that's what I teach companies, and I teach people how to get their profiles to show up for the jobs they want. And that's all about what's happening. And people love it. It's easier, it's faster, it's, the biggest comment is my recruiter is ignoring me, or not responding to my emails, not responding to my phone calls, not responding to this. So by having having a good LinkedIn profile that basically attracts different kind of recruiters or HR folks, it makes it, the pull methodology makes it easier to be found without having to engage a full-time recruiter whose time is limited, because there aren't that many, and most of them are so busy looking for it. I mean, the competition out there to try and get people in the door is nuts. I mean, I think the commissions that recruiters are getting, particularly for high-tech people, is ridiculous. I've never seen it so high. It's the highest now than it's ever been.
Wow.
So a lot of companies are doing it themselves now and saving quite a bit of money. And that's what I was doing for one of the companies last year, was how to use LinkedIn, how to find them, help them find the people, and help the people, their HR folks, do the searches themselves. So all the fun. I mean, there's plenty of work out there. There's plenty of different places hiring. I mean, the whole Northeast is pretty well nuts trying to find people. And all the layoffs did out in the left coast for all those high-tech companies is provide candidates to companies.
Yeah.
We hear, like Salesforce saying, oh, people aren't closing on deals as fast and things like that. Part of that is they can't find people to implement those systems fast enough. So a lot of the implementations are behind, and the companies don't want to take on buying new optimization software packages to make them more efficient until they finish what they're doing now.
Yeah.
And that was because you couldn't get IT people. So now that the market is freed up with the graciousness of Meta and a few others putting a lot of great programmers and great tech people on the market, some of the companies are able to get some of their optimization and efficiencies and cost savings done, instead of having all those people being drawn in by Meta and the likes. And truthfully, yesterday, an expert was on one of the news channels. I mean, I saw the replay on YouTube, but basically saying is companies like Meta, Google, and those companies who lay all these people off ended up rehiring them within a year anyway, because they need them. And they're actually losing the company money by laying them off, because they're just rehiring them anyway.
Yeah.
So, if they're really laying people off, well, is it really for you're laying off people, or you're trying to get rid of some of the poor performers? Like, who is it? I think it was Citibank who said, we're making a lot of our stay-at-home people or work-from-home people come into the office because they're not performing. Well, they know, right? The people who are working from home basically said is, make me come to the office, I'm going to quit.
Ah,
So basically, it's basically some companies' ways of doing a reduction of the poor performers, and then having those people come back on the market. So I'm not sure it's really for as much as for cost reduction as for weeding out some of the poor performers. So it's kind of a
interesting. That's like, wait, I didn't even hear about that with Citibank. So are they firing them or what's happening?
so the people
Sorry.
are quitting.
Are they? That's what I'm saying. So they are quitting, but they're not. Citibank is not saying like retracting, like, okay, you could work from home. They're just,
They're not saying that. I know
wow.
JP Morgan, they're what? They've done their third attempt at trying to get people to come into the office.
Yep.
And the third attempt failed.
Wow.
So they're trying to figure out they're strategizing how they're gonna try and do a fourth attempt,
Mm-hmm.
see if there's a way to make it easier for them to come into the office.
Wow. Okay.
So working from home, you look at the numbers. I think I mentioned the commute numbers before. Is
Yeah.
the trains are less than 50% full from what they used to be on before the COVID.
Well, let alone the crime rate and all that stuff going on in the city, right?
Oh,
We're still
right.
scared of that.
And you go to a shopping mall and stuff like that. You see more and more people now putting on masks
Mm-hmm.
because of this. There's so much RSV, so much COVID, so much flu. I mean, this has been a really bad season for people getting sick. I know my neighbors, who one of them works for AWS, she's had COVID 3 times.
Wow.
So she said, no more going to the city, not until this is over.
Done. Yeah.
Even with a face mask, I'm not going in.
Mm-hmm.
So, until some of this is over, I don't, until this winter is over and this outbreak is done, I don't think they're going to get anybody back.
Yeah.
But, AWS has a lot of people work from home. It's just, going into the city and going into, having to take trains and stuff like that. That's a problem. And some of the buildings, some people don't, when they're not feeling well, they don't take care of themselves. They don't stay home. You don't know what you have. I mean, COVID is just like a slight case of the flu right now with the current versions. So no one wants to go into work. No one wants to spend that kind of time and get sick again and bring that home. Who wants to bring, what working couple wants to bring home RSV to their kids? I mean, so there's a lot of reasons why work from home and stuff is there. And I see in a lot of the LinkedIn profiles now, a little line says willing to work from home or willing to work remotely, or only working remotely in their profiles, because one of the two members of that couple, has to stay home with the kids.
Yeah.
To give you an idea, when I was working for one of the companies, what is it? This is like 12 years ago. We put in the ability for enough people in the company for everybody could work from home. Because one of the offices was in Connecticut and the other one was in Omaha. Both can have bad winters, right? You had to have the ability. If you have, the company was 60% women. So you definitely have a lot of people there, with young kids. You have to be able to work from home. So we basically set up what today is called Teams on Microsoft. And you could do all your work from home. You could join the video conferences. Your desk phone rang at home. Most people couldn't even tell where you were. And you could also say, do not disturb, or you could, you could text them on their computer systems rather than having to know everybody's cell phone to text them and stuff like that. So all that efficiency is out there now where people can get together on meetings. So a lot of I said, pushing to go back to the office completely is really not really justified. Once a week, maybe twice a week, some of it times once a month for big meetings and things. Some of that works out, but like for computer programmers like my son, why does he go in the office? He goes in the office, I think, once a quarter for a group rah-rah presentation and stuff like that. Other than that, they basically says work at home and stay healthy, because they're deathly afraid that coming into the office is going to get more people sick, and then that's going to, you get a couple of people get COVID in a big meeting, and then everybody starts to get it, and you have more people out of work. There was no sense bringing everybody in. So, yeah. But that's fun. So anyway, my pull methodology that I've always worked on for the last number of years is working well. I know a lot of people are doing it. A lot of people are not using recruiters at this point. The recruiters are actually finding them. And a lot of companies are learning how to bypass the big recruiting firms by using the technology and the processes that I give out. So it's helping them solve their problems on both sides of the fence.
Awesome. Still got 2 minutes left, Don. How do you want to end this show? What insight do you want to share?
Oh, what I want to share is, if we want some help from me, whether as a person looking for a job or a company, you can contact me at Don@Wittman Technology, or Don the LinkedIn guy. You'll hopefully in the very near future you'll be able to find me as on LinkedIn as hashtag LinkedIn guy.
Yeah.
So we'll be doing that, and you can get in touch with me through WittmanTechnology.com, which is my website. And I'm always open to talk to people to see how I can help them, not only as individual, as consultants, or as companies, to help them, increase their ability to find the talent or get found by different companies to, make your life better.
Got it. Well, thank you. And if we want to reach out to you directly, would you mind sharing all forms of contact?
Sure. You can get me on LinkedIn with www.linkedin.com/in/Donald J. Wittman. You can get me at Don@WittmanTechnology.com or Don@LinkedInGuy.com through my website, which is WittmanTechnology.com. And again, you can if you need help, you can take a look at my book, Ignite Your LinkedIn Profile, which gives you a lot of ideas, not only for a person looking to get a job, a consultant, and gives some hints to companies who want to start looking at hiring directly themselves.
Great. Thank you so much. You have a fantastic day, and hope you feel better as well. Get over this little colder bug you have. And thank you for the information as always. We'll talk next week.
Yeah. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Have a great day. And to all of our listeners, stay tuned. More of the show's on the way.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.